All right, this is Griffin Riom, and want to welcome everybody back to another series of our podcasts focusing on technicians and everything related to technicians. Today, I've got a really fun guest with me. His name's Bobby Kellum. Bobby Kellum's the global manager for the Caterpillar ThinkBIG program and has been doing so for a number of years. And Bobby, I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself and talk about your responsibility with Caterpillar Corporate.
Okay. Hello, everybody. This is Bobby Kellum. I am the ThinkBIG program manager for Caterpillar. I have been in this role in some fashion since 2008. The responsibility is I manage the 22 programs we have globally and to get technicians for the dealers. I've been working for Caterpillar for 22 years now, and the last 12 years, I've been doing a lot of recruiting for ThinkBIG for Cat Corporate.
Yeah, and we'll talk more about the ThinkBIG program. Even I think you and I could definitely talk about it for hours upon hours, just with both of our passion and program that I went through as well. So I owe a lot, if not all of my career success to that program. So definitely want to go into that, but what I really want to do and what I've been doing throughout these conversations is I want to take a step back and talk about where you started. And I've known you since, I think 2006 is when I first met you. I was doing an internship in the mechanical lab, and you were working with our learning division. And, since then, you and I have become good friends and gotten to know each other over the years. But I was really impressed and surprised when you and I were out at ConExpo this year and you started talking about your career background and how you started, and you were pouring foundations right out of high school at one point. Or give me the rundown on how you from out of high school and then how you worked your way through things and then got onto CAT.
Okay. I went off to college when I graduated in 1988 on a football scholarship.
Okay.
And went and played football, and I would tell you back then, 32 years ago, it was, I think my passion was sports. So I was so excited to get that scholarship to play football. But what had happened as a young man, being away from home and missing the hometown and got a little burnout on sports, I ended up coming back to my home base, and I ended up doing a little bit more college, but then ended up rolling into construction. And at the very beginning, Griff, I started doing home building construction. I was more or less a laborer at that time, so I did roofing and all that stuff. But towards the 90s, I started branching out to where I was talking to you about at ConExpo. I branched out to poured foundations. So I started out as a laborer there and then ended up getting into an opportunity to be a foreman on one of those crews that we were doing in the central area. But that's where the construction path started. And what had happened was I'd been trying to get, like I had said before, tried to get on Caterpillar. My dad was a Caterpillar employee for 30 years, but I'd been trying to get on a Caterpillar for several years, just didn't know how to do it.
Yeah.
And the young man that was on my crew started, and then 2 weeks later, one of the guys come up to me and said, "Hey, I've got to get my 2-week notice. I am going to go start working for Caterpillar." And I'm like, "Wow, okay, how did you do that?" But in a nutshell, the next week I applied and I ended up going to work in the Morton Distribution Center on the union side as a parts order specialist.
Nice. So that's kind of what started the whole thing for you then, right?
Yes, that's how it started at Caterpillar. I started on third shift in Morton Distribution as a parts specialist. And
go ahead.
And then I ended up working my way up to where I am today. So
yeah, and one of the things you you hit on that I think does kind of dumbfound a lot of people, creates a roadblock for a lot of people, is you'd said like you just didn't know where to start. And I think that's really where we, from, Caterpillar side and the dealer side, is really showing people how to get started and, what's the next step to take. Because I think we can always have these, career aspirations, but, if my career aspiration is completely outside of what my parents have done or people within my own network have done, then you're really at a loss of how to get started. And then, having some of those relationships or having, that knowledge base of people that can help create those connections is really what gets us moving. I think today versus the scenario you were facing, though, things are quite a bit easier in terms of trying to make those connections, right?
Well, I would think so. I mean, you would have thought that a dad that retired, and I had uncles that retired from Caterpillar, that it, and I'm from Central Illinois and born and raised here, and you would think it would be, hey, this is an easy win for you. But at that time, being that young kid, I didn't know how and wasn't asking the right questions until I got into my mid-20s.
Yeah, and I think your family's approach or your dad's approach was a bit similar to mine in the sense of, kind of letting you feel things out on your own a bit in order to really discover what it is that you actually wanted, instead of just putting it right in front of you and saying, this is what you should be doing. Right. Kind of building up that appetite or that enticement, right? Because I think when we got to work for things, we're much more appreciative of it versus things just being handed to us as well, right?
Yep. So
then you started at Morton, you were working at the third shift and you were with the union. And then how did you kind of follow that process from working in Morton and now working with, one of the top world-class, I guess in my biased opinion, programs related to technician recruiting and development?
Okay. I would tell you that I'm very blessed in that opportunity, because 2008, I had my mentor, Steve Hitch, recruit me to come and help him on ThinkBIG. And as well as I do, the passion I have with young kids. My pastime is sports. I love coaching, and I still coach today. And I love working with kids. And it was one of those things that once I got into that role, things started clicking because of my background. And I would tell you, I have found, and I've told people this, once you find your niche at Caterpillar, you know it and you're very passionate about it, and it makes you want to strive to be that program and those people to share in that success.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think there's a lot to be said about following your passions, in the sense of, if you really just focusing on doing the best job that you can, then a lot of things just in an area that you're passionate about, a lot of things just do seem to fall into place from there. And, there's a lot of, really good timing. There's preparation. I think sometimes people will just factor it down to good old luck. But yeah, I think you're spot on when you're talking about, staying passionate and focusing on those areas. Then it really kind of excites you, and you're really not worried about a lot of the things that can distract you and, create extra noise in the daily life.
Yeah, I would tell any young adult that's coming into Caterpillar on an internship or anything, there are going to be positions and things that you're going to be told to do, but you just got to do those with a smile on your face. And that's the way I went through my career at Caterpillar. I worked for everything that I've gotten. Hard work. And if the hard work that you do and show the passion and the integrity is intact, I think you can go to places that you never thought you could go to.
Yeah, that's a really good point too. And I think it's something that we run into, especially with, current high school students and people entering the workforce. There's much more of and I don't want to generalize too much, but there's much more of a pragmatic approach in what we see with the younger generation. And that's the sense of, and I say that in the sense of, they ask more question in terms of, why do I need to do this? What's the point of this? I think, when I was coming up, that was maybe just starting, but, years prior, it was, just kind of take the orders and go do what you need to do, or do what the boss tells you to do. But now you're in a really interesting position because you worked up through that model, but then you're translating that now with people in that actual age demographic with these high school students that you're coaching with the football program. So how have you been able to kind of translate that with these younger guys and girls possibly within the football program in terms of getting them to buy in on doing some of these tasks that they don't necessarily think are worthwhile, but that it's going to be beneficial to them in the long run?
Well, I can say on a personal level how anybody that with any generation can, especially this generation that I'm dealing with now at the high school level. You have to relate, Griff. You've got to relate to these young individuals. Doesn't mean you have to be their best friend, but you've got to relate in some sense.
Yeah.
And I would tell you, I'm not one of those guys or persons that have to yell at people to get my point across, because this generation does not. They really shut down when you start yelling. But I would tell you the best thing you can do is relate to these individuals.
Mm-hmm. And that's, yelling would be more common, I guess, for a high school football coach, I would imagine.
It
right?
would be, and
we're just not.
I've seen a lot of that go on, and I've learned from my mentor on that side that yes, it can work, but I've learned that if you can raise your voice and your facial expressions, that shows a lot and gets a lot of respect from the kids.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I say they're kids, but they're young adults.
Yeah.
You have to relate, because they weren't raised like. I was raised different than they were, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it's technology wasn't there 32 years ago for me. We had social media, but we didn't have social media like it is now.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of different things that go on after 32 years of graduating high school. But
for sure,
you have to relate to these students, and you got to find out what their passions are and what they're looking for to get out of the program.
Yeah. And I think from a leadership standpoint, I think that is a really sound approach too. I think there's, whether you're in a leadership position and, leading a team of people or a team of players, motivating with fear does not benefit anybody. And it's a really good way to lose trust and faith in people. So I think your approach by building good relationships and being able to relate with people definitely is, paying off for you in the field, but then I would see paying off for you in your career. And I think for any young individual as well that could be listening to this is also, if you want to really figure out how to work with people, you got to figure out how to relate to people and understand how people are motivated. And when you start to relate to people, you're going to divulge certain things about yourself and how you're motivated as well. So then once people understand you, they know how to work with you better, which I think is going to create a much better environment.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about let's talk about the Think Big program though. Like I had said before, I could talk about this, but I really want to put this, the microphone in your hand, so to speak, and talk about, what the program is and how long it's been around, how many students you've been able to put through the program, and just what your take on being a part of the whole process has been.
Okay. Well, the Think Big program started back in 1998. So the program has been around for 22 years. And we have a lot of the programs that are 20 years old. But it's a dealer-sponsored program. And what it does, it teaches service cat equipment. It teaches on service cat equipment and maintenance systems.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a 2-year program that combines classroom and hands-on learning opportunities to work on cat equipment.
And what's the percentage of classroom versus like hands-on and lab time then?
I would tell you you're looking at about 65% hands-on compared to 35% of instructor-led in the classroom.
Okay, so that's definitely going to keep it more engaging. And then I've always found when I work with my hands, I'm much more to retain what was just demonstrated to me instead of just sitting in the classroom form and reading what the instructor is reading off in the PowerPoint for sure.
Yeah, I would like it to be more than that, but I would tell you that the 17 to 21 times is a learned behavior. So you're going to have to do repetitions 17
Yeah.
to 21 times. But yes,
So
hands-on is very important to this program.
and
Uh, Go
then
ahead.
these lead to internships then with the sponsoring dealers.
Yes, that's what I was going to get into. So how the program works, it's once you get selected by the sponsoring dealer, you will go to class for 8 weeks at the sponsoring college or university, and then the following 8 weeks you'll be on a paid internship at your dealer sponsor.
Hmm.
So it's a paid internship, and we have 4 of those in the 2-year period of paid internships. Now, the paths that the students have to go through this program are heavy equipment, construction, or electric power. So we have 2 paths for students to get a degree to go work for a dealer as a technician. Now we
And
have 12 programs that are in North America,
okay.
and we have 10 that are in other countries. So a total of 22 globally.
Wow. And
But
then what are some of those other countries internationally?
we've got South Africa, we've got Ecuador, Panama, Peru, Mexico, Santiago, Chile, so in England.
Hmm.
So
And Canada as well, right?
in Canada as well, yes.
And then after this internship and then the 2-year program is completed, then these individuals have a job waiting for them, correct?
Yes, if they do everything right, there will be a job lined up for them upon graduation.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, to me, that when, having gone through that process, it was kind of a no-brainer, especially when you're talking about a guaranteed job waiting for you when you're done with your education. I mean, it's like it takes out a lot of the guesswork, and then
Well,
like,
yeah,
what's waiting for you at the finish line, right?
yeah, I wish I knew about this program. Now I wasn't into mechanics or nothing like that, but
Hmm.
this right here is a no-brainer to me for anybody to go through the program. You're right. You're getting paid to go to school. You're also not, I wouldn't call it a guarantee, but if you do everything right, you have a job
Yeah.
lined up when you graduate. How awesome is that?
Yeah. And the program itself too. I mean, do you know how many different programs are on scholarships versus self-funded?
That's hard to say. I would say there's more than half that are scholarship, and the rest are self-funded.
Wow. Okay. That's a lot more than I thought, actually.
A lot of the dealers decide what they want to offer their future dated employees.
Hmm.
So, and that's their responsibility. They need to figure out how to get those students interested in going through the program.
Yeah, for sure. So, how many? You said since 1998. How many people have we been able to put through the program then?
I would say we're getting close to 9,000 technicians for the dealers in the
Wow,
22 years.
that's amazing. I mean, 9,000 different individuals that have gone through the similar path to me, but then all have taken different paths from there.
Right.
And we're talking about people that are service managers, possibly even dealer VPs, people that have gone out on their own, creating their own business, or people that go in and work for Caterpillar Corporate. To me, the potential out of just starting with that career path seems to be such a huge payoff with such little risk in comparison to what we would be asking somebody to take on with a 4-year degree.
Correct.
So, you're like I said, you're in that really good spot in terms of working with, younger individuals, but then also with parents. So I do want to, hopefully we are able to get this in front of some parents and have them listening. If you had to give some advice to a parent or an educator even that has a young person in their life that's either looking at becoming a technician or going into the skilled trades, I mean, what would you really want that parent to consider to keep an open mind going into that conversation?
Well, I would let them know that there are opportunities above and beyond what a lot of people understand working at a dealer as a technician. But with that being said, if you've got some students or parents have got some students that are or children that are ready to go into some kind of skilled trades, get them in there. Get them in there as soon as possible. I would tell you, I've had three ThinkBIG. I've had three high school graduates from the program that I teach at high school go through the program.
Okay.
And
wow.
I started talking. Now, granted, I am the manager of the program, and I knew the kids at the time what their passion was. But if there is a student passionate about working with their hands, I would tell them to start reaching out to those manufacturer dealers that are giving those opportunities, and start as early as a junior. And there's going to be opportunities for them, because high school wasn't like it was when I was going to high school. There are some easy, quick wins for those parents and those students. If they are taking some college prep courses to get into a college 2-year degree or 4-year degree, they could be ahead of the game with their general eds that are associated with the ThinkBIG college program, because we do have to attach humanities classes and electives to get that 2-year degree at the college and the university. But I would stress them to also maybe intern with the dealer a summer, and just to see what goes on in that dealer branch and see what goes on the dealer side. I think it's very beneficial to see that part of the concept.
Yeah, and for anybody that's is really interested to find out who is offering or who has opportunities right now, we do have a website. It's dealertechjobs.caterpillar.com, and that's where you can see where a lot of the opportunities are. So if you're in Kansas, Alaska, California, et cetera, you can see what's in your specific area. So I would recommend that to anybody that is interested to see. And if there aren't current listings, that doesn't mean that they still aren't looking for people to come into their talent pipeline through the ThinkBIG program. So are there other programs that we have out there available from the CAT dealers? I think you and I were talking about some apprenticeship programs that different dealers offer, as well as another entry path.
Okay. Another entry path that I manage is an ABC program that was started back in 2008. And it is ABC stands for Accelerated Basic Course. So it is a 12-week path for anybody to go through a program. But it's just like, in a sense, it's just like ThinkBIG. You have to follow standards, and it's typically at a dealership, but it's at a faster pace. It's a 12-week program, and you're learning all the fundamentals to be that technician.
Okay. So it's it's really taking more of a quick entry, but then giving you a very good fundamental understanding before you're getting on the job site then?
Correct. Yes. If you compare the two programs, ABC doesn't have internships. It isn't a 2-year program, so they're not getting a degree. They are getting a job right off the bat, working for the dealer to go through this program.
Yeah.
And if they in that 12 weeks, that's where the dealers will take them on board and give them all they need to do to grow from that position.
Okay. Yeah, and I think it's just great to see the different paths and options that we have out there for people. So, and I think really that apprenticeship standpoint too, and that would probably, or not apprenticeship, but accelerated standpoint, that could be really good for somebody that's already working in the industry and then just, really wants to get a crash course on Caterpillar equipment and then be out there working again, right?
Yeah, I would say that is one of the other benefits to that program is you're going to get a lot of mid-career people, military people that are wanting to get into this some kind of field to get
Hmm.
CAT experience. Yes, that is a good opportunity. And to be honest with you, it could be a person that's already working for the dealer that is just doing doing the yard work, that he wants to learn a little bit more how to become a mechanic,
Hmm.
a technician.
Yeah, and then for people that don't know our dealers or the specific term, so a yard person would be somebody that is out in the equipment yard, directing traffic, making sure customers are being taken care of when they're bringing in their equipment to get serviced, and really coordinates that. That's actually a pretty important role of the dealership because they do a lot of air traffic control, I guess would be the best comparison for making sure that first touch of the dealer when the person comes on site, that they're getting addressed and taken care of adequately. And yeah, I've seen a number of people that start out in that position and then become a technician and then keep going from there. And you hear these stories, and I'm sure you've run into it too, where they talk about like a certain VP or a certain manager within the dealership of, that individual started in the shop sweeping floors
Yep.
and was able to work their way up. Um, and that's what I really want to highlight. And I think maybe the theme to talk about is, and we're talking about pursuing your passions, but it's really about you get out of this what you put into it. And when you invest yourself into a skilled trades pursuit, whatever you're going to invest in that space, really make sure you're doing it wholeheartedly. So then you're going to see that return. If you go in with, the incorrect assumptions or different expectations, it could really set an individual up for failure if they're not applying themselves correctly. So you really want to focus if people are applying themselves in the right direction. And that's going to benefit them, but it's also going to benefit the people that they work with and the companies that they work with too. So what advice would you be giving to potential technicians then on, somebody that's, 17, 18, maybe we're looking to go to college, and then now with everything going on in our current environment, that's kind of created a bit of a sidetrack. What advice would you give to those people, to our potential employees of cat dealers out there?
I would tell you we are still taking uh, students for this program. I mean, today's what's going on in the world today, but I would tell you we have learned how to adapt at this program now. Uh, don't get discouraged because we are still needing technicians for the dealers, and
Hmm.
we are still the doors are still opened up at the 12 programs in the 10 in the other countries.
Good.
So
Okay.
we are not seeing the full capacity as today, but due to the COVID-19. But I would tell you there are dealers out there in regions out there that are still really doing well, and I would tell you the 12 in North America are still numbers for the freshman class are looking really good. So I don't get discouraged if you're interested in this program, interested in working for a cat dealer. I would say start visiting those websites, start talking to high school counselors, and get out there and try to find some avenues to get into some kind of similar program.
Hmm. And the other aspect I would bring into of, from my personal experience, before I went to the program, I didn't have that much technical experience. I had done some minor things like help my buddies remove and install an engine for their Jeep, replacing a clutch, um, pretty good for somebody in high school, but in the grand scheme of things, a very shallow knowledge base when it comes to being a Caterpillar technician. Um, the program, when I was done with the 2 years, I was working with journey level technicians and beating flat rate. So that means that I was beating the time recommended to complete a certain task. So that makes you a high performer. That helps improve on the dealership's bottom line. But that just shows how good that training is. And then to the other aspect of it, there's a lot more technology in our product now than ever before. The technician role I really view as more of an engineering role, in the sense of you've got to be able to, one, work with your hands and be able to work hard, but then two, you've got to be able to work with computers and do diagnostics and be able to use that computer as an additional tool, just like the set of ratchets or wrenches in your toolbox. Now, the program as well is also really well set up to train people that may not have that much exposure, know how to work with computers that well either. So I would really want to give anybody, prospective employees out there, a heads up that, don't worry about the skills that you don't have. Really focus on what you want to learn, and the training and material that we've developed at Caterpillar that our schools and dealers are delivering out there is going to get you up to speed. What they need are people that are passionate and ready to work. They can help really address the training gaps and needs. So don't ever put yourself at a disservice by thinking you can be an applicant because you lack a certain skill set. We're going to train that for sure.
That's a good point, Griff.
Yeah.
Well stated there. You're right. They are going to have to be able to diagnose and use those software and those computer. We need those computer and software skills.
Mm-hmm. For sure. So, well, Bobby, I really want to thank you for your time today, and really appreciate you taking some time with us. So, are there any websites that people can check out the Think Big program on if they wanted to learn more and get some more information?
Yeah, they could visit cat.com/thinkbig.
Okay, easy enough. Well, hey, I really appreciate your time today, and look forward to talking with our next guest and seeing what else we can uncover in this discussion and process. So thanks a lot, Bobby.
Thank you, Griff. Take care.
So that's going to bring today's session to a close. I do want to thank everybody for taking time to listen to this as well. If you want to be a part of this conversation or know somebody that should be a part of this conversation, please reach out to me. You can email me at REOME_GRIFFIN_E@cat.com. Thanks again for your time, and looking forward to talking to you more.